Hey folks, it's Jim. Wanted to do an update for today. For my state, 1,600 tests, 52 positive. That's 3.2%. However, 2 to 300 of those haven't even been. We haven't gotten the results yet, so I'm going to call it 5% positive ratio so far. Because remember, it was 10%. I was hoping to see that drop as they started testing Gen Pop. Excuse me. So now that we're testing general population, I think it's at 5%, and I'm hoping it'll drop to 3% after we get tonight's reports and those 2 or 300 tests read, and we're all caught up. It may, float between 3 and 5 for a week, but I'm hoping that we get back down to 2% here soon. We're finding them sporadically spread out. Another interesting story. A friend of mine called me today. He goes, "Wow, Jim, my truck broke down." I says, I think that's God working in your life. And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, you probably shouldn't be out right now in large gatherings," because he was going to go to a funeral. And he was frustrated about that. Well, he called me today and said, "You were right. One of the people attending the funeral had flown in, he's a pilot, had flown in to attend the funeral. And when he was leaving to go back, tested positive for the coronavirus. So everybody at the funeral got quarantined and is getting tested. So anyway, you never know, right? So isn't that interesting though? And that's pretty close here. So at any rate, that's still going on around the country, and so this virus is going to continue to spread. Consider us, if you're not aware yet, that we're 2 to 4 weeks behind Italy. So Italy's about to hit their peak in the next week or two. We're 2 to 4 weeks behind Italy when you think about our testing and whatnot. And there's a lot of forecasts saying we're probably going to hit 100,000 in the next week or two positives. So anyway, that's that. Next exciting news was the Mercy hospital ships Mercy and Comfort, which are near and dear to my heart because when I came back to America, the only 2.5 years that I got stationed in America, the rest of my time I was deployed. But one of my tertiary billets was on these hospital ships. So quite interesting. And so that's near and dear to my heart. But what's interesting about these ships? Each one has 1,000-bed capacity, great trauma centers, I believe 12 plus ORs, and you can make more if you had to in each one. But what's really significant is that, besides the 1,000-bed capacity, is that each one has 2 oxygen-producing plants on them. Okay, so they can produce massive amounts of oxygen, which is a big concern. Remember, I had mentioned that on another video of mine. Now we've just expanded that capacity for the East Coast and the West Coast, where we're probably going to have major breakouts anyway. If we do, they're probably going to be around New York and somewhere in California, right? So now we've kind of solved that solution. Also, the DOD donated 5 million masks, which tells me China's supply chain must be up and running on PPE, because I don't think DOD would have done that not knowing that they had something coming in. 3M's cranking out masks too right now by the millions. So hopefully that supply chain will eventually catch up. I don't know if it's going to go to the general population or not. Gen Pop, when I say Gen Pop, that's what I mean, right? That may never catch up unless China gets full on board. But the way the world is right now, they need masks everywhere in the world, don't they? So, and India hasn't even really broke out yet. So we'll see what goes down there as well. I'm waiting for numbers on India to start coming in. My store was stripped in many areas. Soup, pet food now, and pet products down to the cat litter, right? So I'm glad I did that video on pets. And that was really surprising when I went by there today, because last time I went by, the pet aisle seemed fine. Now it's basically getting stripped. Also the soup aisle, yeah, and all the disinfectants, cleaners of all kinds, stripped, gone. The whole section, part of that aisle is just stripped. Toilet papers, paper towels, like everywhere else. And again, a run on guns and ammo. So people are starting to ratchet up tension-wise. Something I thought was interesting is Italy has a 10% death rate. so far. And that's horrific, folks. Pray for those people, because, you know, losing someone that you could have saved due to not having either the supplies, equipment, or manpower is, you'll never recover from it. Those are things that will stick with these people for a long time, all those care workers. So put them in your prayers, will you? It's going to be horrific, the aftermath for all of those clinical workers that are having to go through this and just didn't have the manpower, the supplies to do everything they could have done. And that's sometimes the most disappointing. It is the most disappointing thing in the medical field, when you lose people that you could have saved had you had what you needed. So anyway, I wanted to put that on. Another thing I found exciting, Britain is going to start testing for antibodies. So antigen is the virus, antibody is what your body makes out of your white cells, sends it, boom, it's the antigen, it's the cure. So Britain's going to start testing its general population, GenPop, again. Hopefully I could start using that term without saying general population for my videos, but I'm going to say it here a few times so we get that down so I don't have to in the future. So they're going to do that. They're going to see how many of their population are converting to immunity. Outstanding. And I hope that America gets right on this. So wherever we have a breakout, I hope we sweep and test GenPop to see who's developing immunity. Then we can get a percentage of our population that is developing immunity, so we can see if we're starting to build a firewall. Since this is a novel virus and we have no immunity, then we'll build herd immunity. From this first pass, we're controlling it, the infection rate. So we're not going to build a great herd immunity, but it'll be nice to see what is evolving naturally out of herd immunity. So that's really interesting, and I hope America follows Britain on that tack. And then I wanted to say, good job, America. People are getting on board, getting proactive, making alternative masks out of whatever they can. One lady even used a bra. I was like, wow, talk about using creativity, man. So that's what I love about America, too. You know, when times like this, Americans just get up and get going, just like probably every other nation. But I love watching it here because this is my country, right? So good job, America. Looks like people are practicing social distancing, except for down at spring break. And they're adapting, improvising, and overcoming in many, many places. There are a lot of great stories out there. And I want to close with this. If you're under a lot of stress, you're having a hard time, this is bringing you down, get out there and look at some of the positive stories that are taking place, such as the improvised PPE that people are doing. I was out today in my store. Only 2 of us had face coverings. Nobody else was even wearing gloves or covering their face. So hopefully it doesn't spread bad here, but I thought that was interesting. So these people are all coming up with their own face coverings. And boy, go out and watch some of those videos. Go out and listen to the good stories. The DOD donating the masks, Mercy and Comfort up and running. Britain going to antibody tests to see who's developing herd immunity. I mean, there's a whole lot of positive out there, folks. So try and grasp some of that if you're having a hard time with all this. Try and get out of the negative and all the boom, doom, and gloom, and grab onto some positive. I got a call from some of my friends in Florida. They were relaying a lot of information about Florida to me. Hopefully they're not going to close borders state to state, and they'll be able to get out of there. That's what I'm hoping anyway, and I hope it doesn't hit Florida bad, because the Canadians have all been taken home, or they're heading home now. Canada told them to go home because they closed the borders. So that was interesting as well. Yeah, write in, let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods. All looks good. Me and Toby are just kicking back. I'm watching way too much boob tube. Having fun, creating my improvised stuff and for PPE. And yeah, there's a lot of good news out there as well, folks. There is a lot of tragedy, but there is a lot of good news as well. Hang in there. Watch some positive videos if you're getting down. And remember, don't be a part of the problem. Be the solution. Jim out.